When it comes to writing unit tests, Tabnine takes what is ordinarily a fairly time-consuming and cumbersome task and makes it really simple and easy. So I'm going to show you two ways that you can generate unit tests using Tabnine. So the first of these is to use the generate unit tests shortcut or link. You can find this in two places. So the first is in the chat panel itself, the generate test for code link that you see here. And when you click on this, Tabnine will insist that you select a code block for which you want to write tests. Now, it's a good practice here to select functions, right? If you select an entire file or the entire class, if you've got a file that contains hundreds of lines of code or even thousands of lines of code, you could potentially run into truncated responses. So it's a good practice to operate on a function by function basis. So here what I will do is just very simply highlight the function that I want to write tests for and click continue, and Tabnine is now providing me with tests for that function. And here we have an entire test class being provided to us. Now the second place where you can find this generate unit tests link is above each function. So if I go to the top of this function here, we can see there is a Tabnine test link. Clicking on that will generate unit tests that are automatically scoped to just that function. Now for this function, as an example, what we're looking at here is a function that takes a date of birth as a string, checks first of all the format of that string. It then checks if the month is valid, if the day is valid, if the day is valid for February in a non-leap year, and then converts the date string into a date object. So here on the right, we can see that Tabnine has generated test cases for, I would say, it looks like for most of these scenarios. So let's take this code and we'll run it in the IDE, and we'll look at how we can then add additional tests if needed. So Tabnine is suggesting a class called person test. So let's copy this code, create a new class, and as suggested, we'll call it person test. I'm going to just insert all of this code, and let's now run these tests in the IDE. Okay, so every single one of them have passed. So we have invalid day, valid date, invalid format, invalid month. I would say that all of the scenarios that I would have wanted to test have already been covered. So this is a huge time saver for me. Now, let's say we want to add a new test here. I'll show you how you can do this using the second method of generating unit tests. And that is to use a natural language prompt. So I can say to my chat assistant, I can say add a new test that, and let's come up with a scenario where we want to pass in a null date string, for example, and we want to expect, let's go with this illegal argument exception. We expect that an illegal argument exception is thrown. Now, I don't have any logic yet to pass this test. So when I run this test, I expect that it's going to fail initially. So let's take that new test case that Tabnine has generated for us, paste it into our test class. And if I run this new test, we do have a compilation error here. So let's fix that. So not 100%, but close. Okay, so running this test here, okay, we see that we have a null pointer exception being thrown by the method when we pass in a null date string. So let's now ask Tabnine to provide us with the logic or the implementation that is going to pass this test. So again, using just natural language, you can say something like, what code would you suggest and I'm going to mention the name of the function. Actually, I don't need to do that. What code would you suggest in order for this new test to pass? And okay, in this case, it's a very simple piece of code. So let's just copy this. And back to our function, let's paste in this code that Tabnine has provided to us. Let's now go back to our new test case, run this new test case again, and we should now expect it to pass, and it does. Okay, so if you're following a test-driven development approach and you want to start with the tests first and then ask Tabnine to help you with the implementation or the logic to pass that test, this is a way that you might do that. Otherwise, if you're generating tests after the fact, after you've written code, you can just use the shortcut to do that, and that will help you really, it'll save you a lot of time and help you get your code coverage up to the required level really easily.